Those are the worst. Well, hello, this is Emily and Andrew with Along for the Roll. Well, today we're going to be doing something a little different. I have guests here, Andrew, my partner in crime. Yep. And we'll be talking about our relationship, which happens to be one that is interabled, where I am a disabled person and he is able-bodied. Seemingly not.
No, I can move quite.
Me too.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so yeah, I've seen a lot of these videos on YouTube, and well, we've seen them. We watched, quite a few couples on YouTube, and we found those informational and helpful and just insightful to see other people's experiences. Mm-hmm. And so we thought, why not just give it a go and share some of our experiences and our views, because everyone has a different viewpoint and experience and relationship, disabled or not. So yeah, here we go. Okay, so how did we meet? And trying to bring this back to disability.
We met through a mutual friend of mine in graduate school who was her roommate at the time. And I don't know, just kind of saw you sort of talking and everything like that.
So this was back in 2013?
2013, yeah.
I was on a crutch at that time.
I think I asked you a bit, I don't know when I asked you about your disability or what point we started.
I know definitely the first time we hung out, when we went out to lunch, you asked about it. Mm-hmm. I can't remember if you asked about it before that, when we were just casually interacting.
Yeah, no, that's true.
So the first time that we interacted and you saw me on a crutch, did you have any first impressions of that, of like, oh, she's disabled or something's up here?
I did know at some point, like I knew it wasn't like everyone was, they always say in Utah would like you injure yourself in a skiing accident or some crap. It's always said.
That's my excuse.
Because everyone injures themselves while skiing. No, I knew it was definitely something. But I did my graduate work in neuroscience, so I knew what the issue was, or at least kind of had a good understanding of what the
They study smell, not.
Yeah, I don't study what Emily's suffering from, but
I'm sorry.
It's horrible. No, so that to me was kind of like my first impression. But I don't really think I looked past it. I mean, I didn't really
was it a red flag in any way? Like, oh, this is different.
It is different.
Or weird, or like something to avoid.
Yeah, I mean, there were times you like think about that subconsciously or something. When you have a friend who's disabled or a person that you're dating who's disabled, you can't do the same things that they do.
I remember the first time we went out, it was just like a casual friend lunch. It wasn't like a date or anything. I remember you parked on the street. I remember this so vividly because it gave me anxiety because of just the terrain and walking around.
Yeah.
I remember you parked on the street on the curb, and I remember I felt like I lost my balance, just like fell on the curb, like it wasn't a full like fall, but I was just like, embarrassed by them. I'm like, here we go. That's gonna be a whole thing. He knows. So like things like that would just like give me a lot of anxiety. And it didn't seem like you were super aware of those kinds of things to start off with. Like, oh, if I park in this place, she has to walk over the grass and get over a curb and over. Which you would never know unless you asked. But just that like first impression for me was more anxiety of like being exposed. Oh wow, yeah, she's being loud.
It's getting louder, oh my god.
She's taking out.
Taking out the blasting off. Just make sure you can cut this. Cut. 7 minutes. Alright, stop it.
Oh, wait. how has disability impacted our relationship? So we've been together almost 7 years now.
7 years, yeah.
So it's been impacted in a lot of different ways in the 7 years.
I don't know. It's been one of those things that's some days it's hardly noticeable, other days it's pretty noticeable.
Yeah, sometimes you just have like a normal relationship, like where it's just you're just connecting with someone, but sometimes the disability plays into things like what you can do together, or how much help you need from your partner, how much attention you need from your partner. Yeah, I don't know. The other stuff is impacted things we can do together, like physically, like going out. I remember when we first started dating, you would go climbing or go snowboarding.
Yeah.
And I would obviously stay behind and not do those things with you.
I was very physically active.
Yes.
For my first year in grad school.
Yeah, and sometimes I felt bad, like I felt left out, like I don't know, like I couldn't find a way to connect with you on that level or whatever.
Yeah. And I think at the same time, it's also given us, it's affected it in a positive way, where it's given us a way to really kind of be closer on different levels than I would with just a person who's able-bodied.
But do you ever feel like you became less active because you're dating or you're with me? Like you would stay behind from stuff or do less active things?
Kind of, but I'm not really active. I figured out I was really that person after my first year of grad school. So,
Gotcha.
I mean, no. If that's the case, I do it on my own. I don't think it's one of those things where it's like completely negative. But I'd be foolish to think that it hasn't made any impact on our relationship. I think it's made both positive and kind of negative. Negative in a way that something's been taken away.
It's true. Where we can't participate in certain things together or
and that would be really nice. That's one of those things.
It limits the activities we can do, but we get creative and find other things to do. A lot of sitting is involved. We find other ways to do things, and other ways to be active together. I don't know, but other ways it has impacted our relationship. Oh, depending on your partner for help.
Well, yeah, depending.
I feel like that's been a big one because.
Yeah, but I think
at times it strained the relationship where you felt like I needed too much from you, or I was depending on you too much, and that would stress you out. Yeah,
that's it. So it put a little bit of a strain on it because not every partner or not every person who's like in an interable relationship, usually the able-bodied person, really is all about taking care of the other person. And not that I've had to take care of you, but it's come up where it's tested our relationship. But I think it's also created resolve too.
I think we've gotten past it, but at certain points in our relationship, that was a big thing, where it was like, where it just felt like I'm being asked too much of, or like if I don't know. I don't think you were ever bitter about it, but it just would get stressful or overwhelming sometimes. Like if I needed something, like, I don't know. Especially, I remember I needed a lot of help at a certain point when I was having a hard time walking on my crutch, and I would need a lot of help, like walking around places. And I would always need you to hang on to you, or like for you to come with me to places because I couldn't go. So like I was very, very, very dependent. So there are phases in our relationship. It's not always like that. I think right now I'm probably pretty independent, and I don't depend on you a lot for stuff. Especially since I can drive and I can get around pretty securely by myself. Yeah, it has come up in the past. But you're not my caregiver. You don't care for me. You don't bathe me. You helped me in the bath at times.
Yes.
Very rarely, only when necessary.
You're highly independent, and I think that's kind of a lot of the workability with things.
Yeah, and we cater our life to make it so that independence is achievable.
Yeah.
Like the way we set things up in our living space or just whatever. Yes. Okay. Let's see. Do you care how other people perceive our relationship?
I used to.
And so in what way?
I used to care because I used to very, very much value what other people had to think about.
So who did you care about? Like whose opinion?
I don't know, friends, family, whatever.
What did you think they would think?
I don't know. I think they would think like relationship is it's going to be really hard for me because I'm not very, I'd say tolerant is a terrible word. I'm really putting myself out in the limb here. I don't know if I don't really know what they would say, but I would, for me they would probably think that it's like going to be a hard relationship.
Yeah, like it'll be uneven, like you'll be doing a lot of the work and
yeah,
need everything from you.
And I feel like that's that's one of the things that always scares people away from interabled relationships. A lot of the time, it's usually like why a person would date a person who has something that is going to requires that society perceives them as a burden or something. Why would you do that?
Like, what are things you've sacrificed and things we've gained? We've both sacrificed and things we've gained from our life. If there's nothing, that's great.
I've gained a lot more than I've lost. Oh, I mean, active stuff, yes. I mean, if you're going to say that, but I think with the gaining of things, like I've gained a lot of sense of a person who is not in my shoes. So a lot of empathy, a lot of self awareness and reflection of how I act and how I treat other people. And I think that is, given me a lot of, there's just, the list is so numerous about the positives I've gained.
I think you become a more patient person because your patience has been tested.
Yes. I become more patient. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you become more self-sacrificing.
Appreciative.
Like, I remember when we were first dating, I don't know how this relates, but it just makes you think of, like, things that you really consider are, like, nice. I don't know, where you would just do things where I was like, where you would always carry me up the stairs because you lived in a two-story
house. Yeah.
And I could walk up the stairs, so, it was cumbersome, but you always went out of your way to carry me up, like, 90% of the time you would carry me up the stairs. And I always thought that was really... It was fun. Like, I didn't need to be carried up the stairs. It was a cool, fun thing. It's fun to be carried. But it was also just showed me how, like, he's really considerate and he's going out of his way to, like, make my experience more comfortable and easy.
Yeah.
What have I gained? Someone to take care of me. What has anything, like, have we had any tools help our relationship in terms of disability? So some things I can think of immediately are, because I know for a while we were like struggling, we really wanted people to relate to, or we felt very isolated as a couple, like, we're so unique, like, we want to relate to other couples and other people, and like, so like, seeing people on YouTube or in media who are in an able couple in relationships, I think was helpful for us just to be like, other people are doing it, and this is their way of doing it, and see examples of that. Mm-hmm. And then also meeting friends who are in an interabled relationship. We met friends who are neighbors when we lived back in Utah 2 years ago. We're still friends with them, and that's a really helpful relationship because you can, I don't know, it's very relatable, even though they have a very different relationship, and so like, one of them is in a wheelchair and one's not, and so we can kind of get that feedback where we can talk to them about how they deal with things. And
it's good to have friends who are also interabled couples.
Yeah.
Or disabled couples as well.
Right.
Dual disabled, what are you calling?
Double disabled.
2 disabilities.
Double the disability. Is there anything else that's been helpful to us? Like, we've been to couples therapy, and discussed many different things in our relationship. Yeah. We kind of discussed the disability thing a little bit.
Yeah, and that's I think talking about it with a couples therapist is always helpful, where we've been able to talk through the issues that we have had, and kind of both in our own personal lives as well as experiences as a couple.
This is also a really broad one. What has changed over time? I think we've kind of talked about that, where we've just come to learn our strengths and weaknesses, where we can help each other, and also our own capacity of like being more patient, being more empathetic, being more understanding.
Yeah.
Just understanding the situation, like this is how it is and this is how it's going to be. It's not going to change
overnight. Unless they find some way to restore your myelin sheaths. Put your nerves back in their sheath.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we've just come to accept this is how it is, and like we're accepting and okay and happy with it. Oh yeah, another thing is like, how has the progression of my disability been in a relationship? Or like, have you perceived that, like going from being on a crutch and being fairly mobile to like having a lot of difficulty on my crutch, and then being on a scooter and then shared?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I feel like it has challenged...
Because you've had to deal with a lot of different like things changing quickly.
Yeah, it has challenged us in some ways, because you get used to Emily. You were very mobile on a crutch to kind of slowly losing your kind of leg function, leg tone compared to when I first knew you. And it's kind of hard to see a person with a disease, even if it's not life-threatening. Even if it is life-threatening, it's even scarier. But to kind of slowly progress, where you just see them kind of getting worse. And I don't think you're getting like extremely worse, like that. It's not life-threatening, but it's something that is like, I'm wondering like about your arms and stuff, limbs, your arms and control over everything. Will that get worse? I usually see CMT manifest very differently, so I don't know.
Yeah. And it's definitely kept us on our toes, so like having to adjust and modify our life based on a lot of my needs. Very scared of the future, like if I'm 27 and and share.
27 next year?
No, I'm 27 right now.
You
don't know how old I am.
I know how old you are.
And then okay, I'll let that slide. How are things gonna be like when I'm 40? Yeah, I will be 40 in 13 years.
I don't know. I just hope that whatever life you're living, you're happy with like the outcomes of whatever life. And the burden, it's one of those things. It's what you sign up for in some ways. A lot of people who are able-bodied people going into a serious interabled relationship are people who like actually are good about, I don't know, like really thinking about how long they want to spend with this person.
Like the long term, the big picture.
The long term, the big picture. Yeah.
Makes sense.
I don't know. You kind of get used to that thing. But like who knows what the future will do? You can never predict it, that much. And I just assume the worst. That's what works for me.
Right. Yeah. What if we're both in a wheelchair?
Oh, great. Then we can do like those jousting, the bike jousting.
You can joust.
Jousting on wheelchairs, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess my kind of thought is having a disability makes you be more creative, and like you have to just think of ways around it and just to work with your disability. So I think that goes for you too, is you've had to become more open-minded and creative to like, how can we deal with this situation together? So we're very adaptable in our relationship and just as people. So anytime things change, we're just like, okay, this is new. How are we gonna fit it into our lives? And what do we need to change in our life to fit this new scenario?
Yeah.
Which it does cause stress, but we have gotten really good, pretty good at dealing with it and just working with what comes.
Well, it's been 7 years. We'll figure out more things as time goes on.
Right. Speaking of which, I'm pregnant.
Yes, I didn't know. That's news to me.
You didn't know.
Who's the father? That's rude.
Father. Well, I just thought we could quickly touch on what are, a few quick thoughts on like disability and parenting and how you think that will interplay. Any last thoughts?
Sorry.
Where are we?
The thing was beeping.
I know, the dryer is...
Poor viewers are going to be like, why is that beeping sound?
No one cares. The quality of all these are terrible anyways. Don't have any expectations.
No, the thing is, if you are in an interabled relationship, reach out to, interabled couples as well. I think forming that community is always great. And on top of it, even, going on double dates with able-bodied couples and stuff.
Yeah, related couples in general.
Yeah, and then if you're having a lot of problems and it's something that's very difficult but you really like the person you're dating, but there's a lot of these issues, I always say seeking out a couples therapist if you can afford it, or really discussing kind of some of the issues, because I feel like there's definitely a lot of people out there who they expect their significant other to become disabled when they're way old, they're about to die or something. That's their thing. And then, if you're in that kind of able-bodied relationship, that's kind of the thought process. But you can get a disability at any point, and you're going to have to work through it in a relationship. So, yeah, that's my advice. Other than that, just keep going.
Yeah, I think definitely don't be afraid to reach out for help. It's not a failure to ask for help. And I think open communication within your relationship, just like always being open about how you feel about things, what's affecting you, like if I'm feeling overwhelmed and need more help, being open about that and asking for that. Because you can't read my mind, and I'm just going to get frustrated and lash out if I don't get what the help I need, and if I'm not in a secure place. Same with him. If he's feeling overwhelmed and doing too much and he never tells me, we're going to start fighting all the time. So we always need to make sure we're checking in with each other. And this goes for any relationship, but I think especially disabled, when disability is adding that extra layer, you want to be especially cautious to make sure both your needs are met, physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. At the end of the day, it's just a relationship. Nothing that cool and kooky, but yeah, I guess there's a cool and kooky little added twist with disability.
Kooky twist.
Kooky twist. Okay, well, I guess that's our experience. Well, for the most part. Quick summary. Do you have any questions, comments? Do you think we're a freak show?
Probably.
Let us know. If you're in an interable relationship and, I don't know, you can share your experience or whatever. I'll link a few below, but there's a lot of wheelchair YouTubers or disability YouTubers who are in relationships and who've done videos like this, but are probably better and more informative, so check those out. Okay, well, yeah, whatever you did.
Bye, guys. Smash that subscribe and like button.
No, you have to say roll on that.
Roll over that subscribe and like button.
Roll over it. I'm trying to integrate the word roll.
All right.